On the night of the 8th of August 1963, a Royal Mail train was going from Glasgow to London. In a box of this train, there were bags filled with notes, which today amount to £67 million or 800 crore rupees. The train's driver, Jack Mills, was driving the train at a high speed in the dark of the night. Suddenly, a red light on the signal at a crossing flashed. For the driver, this was an abnormal thing, because the red light at this time and place didn't mean anything. Anyway, the driver, Jack Mills, immediately braked and stopped the train on the deserted road. For a while, there was silence everywhere, but behind this silence, there was a master plan that was going to end the biggest robbery of the century. The Great Train Robbery, in which the train was robbed. Welcome to Scope History Videos. Viewers, this sounds like a movie story, but even in real life, thieves planned full of suspense and looted lakhs of pounds from the British government train, and that too without firing a single bullet. It all started a few months ago when a few well-known London criminals got together to carry out a new operation. Bruce Reynolds, who was the mastermind of this plan, started making a plan for an unparalleled robbery with a few of his colleagues. He had a secret information about Britain's National Post Service Royal Mail. He got this secret information from a senior security officer of the Royal Mail, whose name no one knew. The information was that there is a special box in the train from Glasgow to London, which is also called high-value packages, or HVP. A lot of money was going to go on a special day, and they had to rob this box. Bruce Reynolds and his colleagues were well-known criminals, but they had no experience of robbing trains. So they included another London gang in this plan, who also had experience of robbing trains. This notorious gang was known as the South Coast Raiders. Slowly the team grew, and now more than 15 people joined this plan. They decided to rob the government train without firing a bullet. But this was not an ordinary robbery. To stop the train and rob it, months of planning were made for this. On the 7th of August 1963, at 6:50 p.m., the train departs from Glasgow Central Station to London. It had to reach London's Euston Railway Station at 4 a.m. the next day. This train had a total of 12 boxes, and 70 to post office staff was also present to sort the mail. During the journey, this train was only used to drop parcels and post in different cities. That's why it had to drop parcels at different stations without stopping. Whenever a station arrived, the local post office staff would hang sacks on a special elevated rack. When the train passed through the platform, it would slow down, and the staff inside would catch the sacks with the help of a net. Similarly, the mail that had to be dropped at that station, their sacks were dropped on the platform while moving. Through this process, the mail was distributed to different stations without stopping. The box in which the robbery was to take place was not yet attached to this train. That box was safely parked at Nain Valley Railway Station. This box was called HVP, i.e. high-value packages, because it contained a large amount of cash that people used to order money in other cities at that time. In 1960, i.e., 3 years before this incident, the Post Office Investigation Branch, IB, instructed to install a security alarm system to increase the security of the HVP boxes. And in 1961, these security alarm systems were installed in 3 HVP boxes. And the old boxes that did not have a security alarm were kept in the reserve. But the day of the robbery was the most important. That day, the HVP boxes with the security alarm were out of service. Therefore, a reserve box M3020-4M had to be used, which did not have any security system. This was a very big tip, which the robbers got from the insider of the Royal Mail. When the train left Glasgow and reached Nain Valley Railway Station, the railway staff connected the HVP box to the second number after the engine. This was the first tip to be given to the robbers, but the second tip was even more important. Normally, the HVP boxes had around £300,000 in cash, but since last week was a bank holiday weekend, there was around £3 million of cash in it on the day of the robbery. And this was tip number 2. That is, the coincidence that happened today. It would have happened once in years. 12 times more money is also going, and coincidentally, the HVP box with the security alarm was also broken. But this was not a coincidence for the robbers. They had been planning for this day for months. Anyway, the train left Nain Valley Station with the HVP box. It was late at night, and the train driver, 58-year-old Jack Mills, was taking the train to his destination. There, the gang of robbers were also sitting near the railway track in the bushes. Their planning was absolutely perfect. On August 8, 1963, at around 3 o'clock at night, a group of robbers started making noise with the signal of the Sears crossing. To hide the green light, he put a glove in front of him and used a battery to run the red light. And then everyone hid and waited for the train. When the train reached the Sears crossing, the driver was quite surprised to see the red light here, because normally the train is not stopped at this crossing, especially the Royal Mail train. Anyway, Jack Mills braked and stopped the train exactly at the signal. Suddenly there was silence everywhere. Meanwhile, the assistant driver, also known as the second man, got off the train so that he could contact the signal man with the help of the telephone on the line side. When he picked up the telephone on the signal, he found that his line was cut, which was part of the plan of the robbers. Now the second man was about to turn back and go towards the engine, when the robbers came out of the bushes and they caught him. Some robbers climbed up from both sides of the engine and also tried to control the driver. When Jack Mills intervened, a robber hit an iron rod on his head and he fainted on the driving seat. The robbers came with full planning when this chaos was happening in the engine. Some team members separated the first two boxes from the rest of the train. Their plan was to take the train away from here. But where to? There was a bridge called Bridego Bridge about 1 kilometer away from the Sears crossing, and a truck of robbers was present there. They also brought a retired railway driver with them. His job was to take the train to the Bridego Bridge. So far, everything was going according to plan. But now the robbers had to face the first problem. The driver he brought with him was scared to see the controls of this new engine, because he had never operated this engine. Forced, the robbers tried to bring Jack Mills to his senses and forced him to take the train 1 kilometer away. Now the engine and two boxes started running again. and a kilometer away, he was stopped at the Glasgow Bridge. During this time, the staff in the remaining boxes of the train did not know why the train had stopped. After reaching the Glasgow Bridge, the robbers broke the door of the HVP box, tied them up with ropes, and started their operation. A total of 128 sacks of cash were filled in the HVP box. These were notes of £1, £5, and 10 shillings. Their total weight was about 2.5 tons. The train was on the bridge and a truck was standing on the road below. According to the plan of the robbers, they had only 15 minutes, so they made a human chain and loaded 120 of the 128 sacks into the truck one by one. The remaining 8 sacks were left because of the short time. Their plan had worked perfectly, but in the end, there was only one mistake, which proved to be the most useful in getting them caught. On the way, a robber told the staff tied up in the HVP box that do not even try to get up from here for 30 minutes or you will lose your life. The robbers had an Austin Lodestar truck on which all the cash was loaded, and there were 2 Land Rovers on which they had put the same number to mislead the witnesses. BMG 7578 after the incident. They all fled from there after a drive of about 45 minutes. They reached their hideout at 4:30 in the night, which was about 43 kilometers away from the scene of the incident, near the village of Oakley. During this time, they were also listening to the police on VHF radio, which was helping them a lot. Just when they reached their hideout, the police also learned about this robbery, but for now, they were very happy. They had a lot of fun at the hideout, even played a Monopoly game there, and that too with real notes. But this happiness of theirs was only a few minutes long. After a while, they found out through the radio that the police were looking for them within a radius of 50 kilometers. The idea of 50 kilometers was given to the police by the statement of the staff, to which the dacoits said half an hour and fled from there. So the police had a good idea that they would be within a radius of 50 kilometers in half an hour. Hearing this, the dacoits got very scared. Now they shifted their plan to leave this hideout on Friday. On Thursday, they distributed all the money among themselves. The looted amount was about £2.5 million, according to some reports. £1.5 million were found in each of them, which was a very large amount at that time. That is, £3.9 million were found in each of them as of today. The rest of the money was distributed among the helpers, who played small roles. Before Friday, they erased their fingerprints from everything in the hideout and gave one person the duty to burn the hideout after they left, so that the police could not find any evidence. He took the money, but fled without burning the hideout. Meanwhile, the police were looking for them in the entire Buckinghamshire area. Helicopters were hovering over the city. Police cars were running everywhere, and there was a ruckus in the national media. The police also announced a reward of £10,000 to the person who gave the information. Upon this, a person living in the neighborhood of the hideout came forward and informed the police that there was a lot of commotion here on the morning of August 8th. Without a doubt, the police immediately raided the hideout. It was a leather slate farmhouse that the dacoits had rented 3 months ago. There, The police found a lot of evidence related to this robbery, such as empty sacks, mails, and a truck that was quickly painted yellow. The dacoits erased their fingerprints from here, but there were some fingerprints on that monopoly, which they played with real money. These fingerprints proved to be a big breakthrough in this case, because they all already had some criminal record. They matched the fingerprints with the records of the police and Scotland Yard, and the real criminals were found. In just a few days, the police arrested 14 out of 16 people. Only 2 people were able to escape the police, including a replacement train driver, whose real name was unknown to anyone, and the other was the senior security officer of the Royal Mail, whose informant made this whole plan. Until today, no one has any knowledge of that officer, because he never showed his real face or told his name. The court declared this robbery the biggest robbery of the century, and sentenced almost all the people of this gang to 30 years in prison. After this robbery, Bradego Bridge became famous as Train Robbers Bridge, and it is still its new informal name. Jack Mills, who was a 58-year-old train driver, was never able to work again due to a head injury and left the world after 7 years due to shock. I hope Scope History video like and share. Thank you very much for your loving comments. See you in the next video.